Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Keystroke Success Training. Thanks for attending, and we have a great show for you today. Michael Cadlib, our support manager, will be going through some information on tables. But before we turn it over to Michael, we'd like to take you to our website, keystroke.ca. And I just want to show you one more time where you can look up the training and watch these videos afterwards. So Michael, if you could go to keystroke.ca.
Absolutely, Vic.
And so this is our home page. And if you scroll down towards the bottom, you will see our under training, where you see keystroke training videos. Just click on that, Lubs. And then if you scroll down, there's options there. There's the ones you're looking for is keystroke success training videos. And this is where we post them usually within 24 hours of delivering the training. So this is where you check for review. So take some time to go through the rest of these videos. They're very helpful. They're all the other sessions we have recorded. The other thing is we've also added for the next 2 months, we've added town halls. So once a month, we will set up a session where you can log in and you can ask any questions. So if you go to the Q&A here, this is on our home screen as well. If you have certain questions you want covered, we will have Michael Cadlib and Billy Clark, our two experts, who will be on call for that hour. And so put your questions in, and then we will address them during that training session. And the last thing I want to mention before we turn it over to Michael is that please use the question section in the GoToWebinar menu on your computer, and we will respond to the questions during or at the end of the presentation. So thank you very much for that. And Michael, over to you.
Thank you, Vic. All right, I'm going to switch over back to my Act screen here for everybody. And then, Vic, if you could just confirm that you see my Act screen on your side, we should be good to go.
Yes. Confirmed. Yes, we see it. Yeah, you're good to go.
All right, thanks, Vic. So today, everybody, today what we're going to cover is custom tables. And we probably don't have enough time to cover every single part of custom tables because it is one of the more complex items in Act. But what we will cover is how to create a table, how to create fields within a table, how to create a child table, and some of the other things within there, such as cascading dropdowns and also sequential fields. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is create a custom table. To do that, we go up to our custom tables menu in Act, select Manage Custom Tables, and create table. And today what we're going to do is we're going to create two tables, a parent table and a child table. And we're going to create, the parent table is going to be vehicles, and the child table is going to be repairs. So let's say we run some sort of a repair shop, and we want to track the vehicles that we manage and the repairs that we do on them as well. So we're going to give our table name. Now it is important that when you name a table, the table name there cannot be any spaces in the table name, because that can cause issues. The display name below that can have spaces in it, okay? So the table name is sort of the behind the scenes name that you're going to see if you were to go through SQL or any kind of reporting tools, so it cannot have any spaces. The display name is how you're going to view it in Act, on the tab, and then also on the navigation bar on the left-hand side there. So that one can't have spaces. You can even put a little logo in there. So let's browse and put a logo in here for a vehicle. And then below here is where you want it to show within Act. So we have the nav bar, which is along the left-hand side of your screen. And then the other entities within Act, we have contact, group, company, and opportunity. Typically, you're going to have it on contact and company. Now, there may be other instances where you may want to track it on opportunities, especially if it's any kind of maybe service-related items or sales-related items. You may want to link it to an opportunity. In this case, for today's purposes, we're just going to do contact and company in the nav bar. Okay, now here's where you actually do the links. So this is where it's going to link. What can you link it to? A company, contact, group, or opportunity. Once again, typically it's going to be contact and company. So don't always just click all four, because as it's noted here, when you have more on there, it might slow down the performance if you have them all connected to all four. So only link it to the ones that you really are going to use it with.
Michael, quick question.
Yes.
Can you have an underscore in the name?
Yes, you can.
Can you have an
Underscore,
underscore
a
in the name?
dash. Absolutely. Yep. So if you do have a multi-worded table name,
As long as there's no space.
But yeah, just make it an underscore. That's what you'll typically. So either no space or underscore. Yep. Child table. We'll come back to this. We don't have the child table just yet, but there will be a child table here eventually once we get finished here today. That will be repairs. And then let it create the table. This will take a few seconds. For those of you who have remote databases and a remote database environment, any of this stuff we're doing right here as far as like an admin type of thing, creating fields, creating tables, that cannot be done through the remote database. That would either have to be done on your hosted server database, or if you also have the web version of Act, you can do it through the web version, through your web interface, logging in through there. Okay, so just something to be aware of. You cannot do it just as you can't create fields in a remote database with the regular, contact or company fields. You can't do the custom table fields either for that. Something to be aware of for that. Okay. In addition, you also need, just like you do with the Act, you need to be an admin to do this function. Okay. All right. So we created the table there, and now we're going to create a couple fields. Okay. So over here on the left-hand side where it says Field Management, create field, and then we give it a field name. So call one model. And you have pretty much all the field types that you would have with the regular Act field creations. You have a couple differences. One of them is activity. So you can actually have an activity field, which would basically allow you to link it to your next activity with this particular contact. So it's pretty neat that you can have it within your custom table view, a link to that next activity you may have with them. In many cases, if it's a service-related table, it could be the next service date for that particular item. Calculated, okay, that's obviously added in the contact page if you're on, I believe it's version 20 or higher for there. On the older versions, you won't see that one. This one called link, that allows you to link it to a contact, company, group, or opportunity within the custom table. So for example, let's say you had a field called service rep, and you had a contact, you had contacts of all your service reps within your database. So instead of having to type in the person's name each time into that service rep field, you could just, there'd be a button there, you click the button and look up that person within your contact list, and then it would be that person's name within there by linking it that way. Okay, just saves you time and data entry with that. The progress field type, this is good for any type of project you may be working on. Where it'll actually be like a little bar, and it'll show you the percentage of how far the progress is, and you just slide it back and forth. So as you continue to work on it, you slide it across until it's 100%. Okay. And then many of the other ones are the same. The one that's noticeably missing is phone number field. You cannot have a phone field within custom tables. You can obviously track phone numbers, with the character field and just typing in the phone number itself, but you can't have an actual phone number field that's automatically formatted within the custom tables view there. The SDK just doesn't allow for that. For this case model, we're just going to make it a character field. Has the additional settings here, very similar. So we have allow blanks. If you want to generate the history upon any field change, you can do so. We're going to use a drop down for this. I can manage the drop downs right from here. So I can create drop downs and add to them if I wanted to. I've already created the model drop down, so I'm not going to go through creating that today. So we're just going to select model from the list here. Okay. I could have a default value for a field if I want. Field length, sequential field. We'll get into that in a little bit. We're not going to cover that just right now. And then we're going to hit next here. So anytime you have a drop down, you have your options. So we're going to limit to the list, meaning you can only select from that list item, and then also enable type ahead. And then you get two other options: enable or allow multi-select if you can have more than one option, or show descriptions if you have a description in the drop down. You can show it if you wanted to. And then that's it for creating the field. Okay, we're going to create two more here real quick. We're going to do the VIN number. So VIN, leave it as a character. And then we're going to do another drop down, the make of the vehicle. Okay. Finish that up. Okay, and then now we're going to do the we're going to do cascading drop downs. Okay. Let me just make sure. Let's go in here. Cascading drop downs on the left. We're going to add a cascading drop down. So the source is going to be the make. Target is going to be the model. Okay. And then, so over here is our source field. This is our make options. And basically what this means is once we select the make of the car or the vehicle, then the model dropdown is only going to be the options that we select. Okay. So for Chrysler, we're going to say, okay, it's either they have the Sebring and they have the Pacifica. Those are going to be the only two options they have. And then for Ford, we have the Escape and Mustang, Honda, the Ford, CRV. Okay. So once again, what this allows you to do is when you have the one drop down for the make, you select the option, and then the model drop down, when you click on that, it's only going to show you the options you have for that particular make. Just basically saves you from having a long drop down of items to choose from, and it narrows it down to just the ones that are relevant. Okay. So we got that. Now we're going to create the child table. We're going to create one called repairs. Okay. I'm going to skip the layout section for right now. I'm going to come back to that. I want to create the child table first and show you how you relate the tables together. So let's create that table. I have it in the same section that I did the other one. And this is probably the longest process here is the table creation. So, and depending on computer speed and how much memory you have on your computer, it could even take longer than what you're seeing here today. So don't, don't panic if it seems like it's frozen. It will definitely finish. Don't cancel it or close out of it unless you see some kind of an error message or something like that. But that's very rare. That's going to happen here. Just let it do its thing and create that table there. Okay, so we're on repairs. Now we're going to create a few fields here. Repair number, and this one's going to be a sequential field. So on this next page here, we're going to check it being off as sequential. And let's say it's going to have to be 5 digits at least. And it's going to start out with 1. Okay. You can even have a prefix or suffix if you wanted to. Okay. In this case, I'm going to leave those two fields blank. So basically, the first time I create something on here in the repair section, it's going to be 00001. And every time after that, it's going to increment by 1 for those numbers. This way I don't have to manually put in a repair number. It automatically does it for me.
Lubs, a quick question. Can a custom table be added to a contact accounting tab?
Contact accounting tab. I think I would need more information about that. We could create one called accounting, but it sounds like they already have an accounting tab in their database from what that question sounds like.
Okay, Roger, if you would just want to email. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say either maybe follow up with that, whoever asked that, just follow up with another question of more details, or if you need to, if it's more in depth, yeah, shoot us an email with some screenshots, just so we can get a better idea of what you're looking for there, Roger.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have the repair number. We're going to create a field for service rep. We'll use a drop down there. I've already created the drop downs for some of these just to save some time here today. And then we're going to do 2 more fields. So most of the fields we've done so far today have been character fields, but let's do a mileage field. What's the mileage of the vehicle? We'll use the decimal field for that. Then the date of service. So we're going to use a date field here. Then lastly, what we need to do, because this is a child table, we need to create a field that's a character field of at least 36 characters that would be the link to the parent table, okay? We don't really need to enter any data into it necessarily. Act's going to do that itself when we do the linkage, but we just need to have a field name in there to create that linkage between parent and child table. So typically what I call it, I just create the field here, and I call it whatever the parent table is, and then the word link. So in this case, vehicle link. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. I just do that for consistency reasons, and just when I look at it, I know what it is, okay? And it's just a character field, no drop down, no sequential field, nothing like that. Just has to be a character field of 36 characters or greater. Okay. So I got my data in here. Now I'm going to create the parent-child relationship. Okay. Now that I have that child table here. So over here on the left, under Table Management, there's an option Manage Parent Tables. I click on that, and it's going to click the button that says Add Parent Link. Select my parent table, and I have a bunch in here. This is my custom table demo database. I do have a few in here, so I'm just going to scroll to the one that I had created, vehicles, and now it's prompting me to select that that link field. And as I mentioned, it needs to be at least 36 characters. There is a vehicle link. Okay. And now those tables are parent-child tables. Okay, and that's all it really takes to link the two. So next thing I want to do is design the layouts, and then also design the default columns, meaning that when you go to a list view, what columns do I want to see as the defaults? So I'm going to do the columns first under additional customization, edit default columns. By default, prior to me designing the default, it automatically puts in the ones that are sort of created anytime you create a table. So we got record creator, last edited by, record manager, edit date, create date, private. Those fields come with basically every table, okay? Before you even add a field, once you create the table. I'm going to take those off of this for the time being. And what I'm also going to add is the contact and company name from the contact section. I want that to be first typically. And then I'm going to add in the rest of the fields I want here. So date of service, mileage, pair number, and service rep. Okay, apply. So now then when everybody goes to their list views, that's what they're going to see as their fields there. They can modify that if they wanted to, but that's going to be the default view for them. Next thing I'm going to do is design layouts. So I'm going to create a layout for this so I can actually enter the data for a repair. So I click Design Layouts. I'm going to click on Create Layout. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than the Act layouts if you've done those before. Okay, let me just give myself a little more real estate here. So it's going to be a little bit different than what you've seen with an Act layout, where you have to go to like a field toolbox and click the field you want, and then drag open a box and things like that. Here you just sort of drag fields around from the section here. So this part here that I'm dragging here, that's sort of the layout, the form. First thing I want to do is give it a name, and typically I just call it whatever that table name is. Once again, just for consistency's sake, makes it simple. It automatically puts your entities on there, companies and contacts, and I typically just move this over just so they're both on the same line. Makes it easy to read. And all I'm doing is dragging the field, and as I drag it, you'll see like a blue outline of where it could go. Okay, so there's still underneath it, and then there's right next to it. And it divides it into 2 columns. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag these other fields that I want on there. So I'm going to put data service in there. I'm just dragging it from this properties box onto the layout itself, wherever I want it to go. See the blue highlighted bars there. I'll put this underneath the contact field. Put this over here.
While you're doing that, Michael, just answer one quick question. Can you have more than one child table linked to a parent table? Perfect.
Can I have more than one child table linked to a parent table? I believe you can, yes. Yep, you can, yes. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. Okay, so there's the fields in my layout. As far as resizing this, I can do anything I want here, but the actual resizing, it doesn't affect it until I actually create something. Once I create one and I'm in the actual act itself, that's where I can resize it for my default size of my, for lack of a better term, I call it form, but you can also call it a layout here as well. Sometimes people call this a form that they fill out. Okay, so here are fields. Click save. Close that down. Actually, before I close this, a lot of times what I'll do too here is I'll create a duplicate layout. That just sort of makes a copy of it down here below it. This way, if something should happen to that main one, I can always fall back to that copy of that layout. Close this. Now I'm going to create a layout for my vehicles, and I'm going to do, this will be a little unique here, because within that layout, I'm going to embed the child table for repairs, so that the repairs is actually within my layout for my vehicles. So let me show you how we do that. So I'm going to edit the default columns again first, just like I did in the other one. And now I'm going to design the layouts, create layout. So far everything's the same. Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create 2 tabs here. So this tab here is going to contain the vehicle information. Actually, first let me name it. Okay, and to create a tab within this layout, I highlight the fields I want in the tab. So in this case, contacts and companies. And I'm holding down my control button as I click each. So now you see there's a blue line outside or outlining each one of those. Once that's done, I right click, select create tab group. As you see there's a tab right there called group. I'm going to rename that. Right click rename, call that vehicle info, and then put some of these other fields on there. So VIN number, make, and the model. Okay. Now I want to have a separate tab next to that with all my repairs on it. So I'm going to go just to the right of this vehicle info tab, right click, and select add tab. Calls it item 1, so I'm going to rename that to vehicle or repairs. And then down here in my field list under properties, there's one called repairs records. So basically it's going to be the table, the custom table, the child table's name, and then the word records. I'm just going to drag that option right over here. And then it puts a label there. I don't really need the label because I have the tab name repairs, so I can just remove that just to give myself some more real estate below there. So I right click and I hide text. And it hides the label there. Go ahead and hit the save button. Close out of there. Okay. So that's it for creating tables. Victor, are there any questions here before I move on to, actually we're going to create some data in here now? before we close out of here?
No, you've got them all. Yeah,
Okay.
you've got them all. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so once again, we created the table. We actually created 2 tables, and then we created that second table. Vehicles was a child table. I'm sorry, repairs was a child table. We created cascading drop downs. We created sequential field. Trying to think if I missed anything here. Okay, actually, let me just go over some of these other menu items here before we jump off to entering data. Under table management, beneath parent tables, we have import schema and export schema. This is really useful because what we can do here with this stuff is, let's say I created this, my client actually wanted this table. I can create it on my database and then export the schema. I would click export schema. I would choose whatever tables I wanted to export. So in this case, let me just deselect all, and let's just say they wanted the vehicles and repairs tables. Next. This is the contact layout. Maybe I did some modifications to an act layout as well. So I'll just choose one from this list here. And then if I wanted to export any users, like if this is a new database, I can export the user list as well, and also any dropdowns. The users is not important as the dropdowns because they may already have the users in place, but the dropdowns are important because I've created some dropdowns for these custom tables. I want to make sure those go with it as well. And then I just save it to a file. It creates a file, and then I can email to them, or if I'm logged into their database via web meeting or something, I can just transfer it over and then apply that import file or that schema file on their side. So to do the reverse, once I get to them, I would select import schema, go find that file, and then import it, and it creates those tables for me in the fields and everything. The time it takes, the export's real quick. It's literally within 20 seconds. The import, depending on the number of fields you have, it could take anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes to an hour. If you have 30 custom tables and 20 fields in each of them, that's 600 fields. It could take a little while to do all that, but it's much quicker than you having to recreate everything on their end. So this is really nice, and this also works. Let's say you've already done some work for them, and then 6 months down the road they want to do some modifications. You can take their schema, import it into your database somewhere, make those modifications, send that schema back to them, and then when it imports it, it only makes the changes to fields that don't exist. So it skips over fields that are already in there and only applies the changes you've made. Okay, so it really saves you some time as far as connecting to them. If you can't connect to them and do the work on their side, you do it all on your side, send it over, then all they have to do is import that schema, and all the changes are applied on their end. Okay. Last thing I want to cover on this particular section here was the template library, industry template library over here. So there's a couple that are just sort of standard that you can apply, and basically this just applies the schema to your database, and then you can add or remove from those particular ones if you wanted to.
So Michael, do the tables get delivered across to Rdbs when they sync?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you have if you've done all this work, let's pretend my database here is a hosted database. It's the main database, let's say, and I close out of here, and then I create my remote databases. Those remote databases will have those custom tables in them. Now, as far and then let's say a week from now or whatever, I create more custom tables. Those will get synced as well. Yeah, remember, and once again, as I mentioned earlier, any kind of custom table work needs to be done on the hosted database, whether it's on the server itself through the desktop version of ACT or through the web interface of ACT with the web database. Remote databases cannot do any kind of customization to custom tables. All right.
So thank you.
Let's move. Yeah, no problem. Let's move along here. Let's just go to a demo contact and create some information here. Our new employee here at Keystroke, Baker Mayfield. All right, so as you see here now, we have a couple new tabs, vehicles and repairs, added to the tab list here. And then also in the lower left on our nav bar, we have vehicles and repairs. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to vehicles, and we're going to add one. And as you see, the columns that we defined are here as well. Okay. So we're going to add a new vehicle. So we just click the add button here on the menu option. And on the vehicle, I'll just give it a random VIN number. We're going to select our make. And then remember, the model now is a cascading dropdown, so we should only be seeing two options there. Okay, and if I were to change that to something else, those options change. Okay. And then I can actually go right to the repairs from here. Remember, I embedded it into this table here, so I don't even need to go to that repairs table to add a repair. I can do it right from here. And click add. Add a new repair. Let's say I'm catching up on some service. I did these repairs in the past. Once again, that repair number automatically inputted. Okay. Put my service rep. Okay. And then, so let's say I had 3 repairs. I'm going to catch up on all these repairs now, so that he's had over the course of time here. One more. Okay. So now as I look in this repair list here, I see those 3 repairs for this particular vehicle. Okay. I see the dates of the service, the mileage of each of those, and I can sort by any of these columns. So if I want to sort by the date of service, I click that date of service heading, and it's going to sort by that particular date of service. So I can sort of see, he's coming in every 1,000 miles for a repair. And then let's go back to our vehicle info, click OK. So it's going to show my vehicle there. If I go to my repairs tab, I'm going to see the three repairs there. As you see here, some of the columns are getting cut off. If I want to be able to see everything in a good view, I can right click on any of the column headings. And there's an option, best fit all columns. And it'll give me the best fit that I have for there. What I can also do is sort of change the color of this, or the theme as they would call it, of the different custom tables here. All that's controlled under the custom tables menu at the top. Apply theme. And then here's, I believe this is classic. Let me just change it to one of the other ones to show you the difference. Okay, so there's green. There's dark. I'm sort of a fan of the classic one myself. Makes it easy to read in my opinion. But once again, everybody can have a different, that's not a global change. That's just a personal preference. So everybody can have their own sort of theme as to how they're looking at their custom tables there. Now, one other thing you can do here in the parent table side of things, there's a slider for child table. If I turn that slider on, and by turning it on, I just slide it to the right, this little button. I'm going to see a little plus sign there. Let me make the best fit. There's going to be a little plus sign there. And when I click that plus, it's going to show me all the child tables records. Okay. So this is great. So I can see all the information right here on just one tab instead of having to go back and forth to the repairs tab and back to the vehicles tab. I can say right here on my parent table, hit that little plus sign to drop it down, and then it shows me all the child table data for that record. If I want to see a global list of all these items, so this is just strictly for Baker Mayfield. If I want to see a global list of all my vehicles, I would go to the vehicles on the nav bar over here. Now we've only entered one, okay, and this is because we just created the field. But you would see a larger list here if you had additional information, okay? Vic, any questions on that, on how to enter a custom table into there?
Good. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Okay. So next thing we're going to look at here, we're going to show you how to do an import of custom tables. Okay. Let me just get everything situated here. Okay, so I'm going to import data into this insurance new tab here that I have for life insurance, or for any insurance really. As you see here, there's no data there, so I just want to show you that there's 0 data, and we're going to bring data in from an Excel file. And let me just show you the Excel file here, so you can see how the data is coming in. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have some of the fields that we have in the custom table view. All right, and the thing we need to be concerned about is how we're going to link it to the contact. Okay, so that's why I have the contact names over here in column A. Now you can have other things that are unique, an email possibly, a unique ID of some sort, a contact ID of some sort, something like that. So anything that's sort of unique to that person or that contact record, that's how you want to link it when it comes in, so that when these 3 here come in, they're all linked to Amanda Form on her record. Okay, and so on down the line. So let's get out of here and go back to Act. All right, so let's do the import. So underneath the custom tables tab, there's going to be an option for data import. And there's going to be 2 options to import. We import from a spreadsheet, which is what we're going to do, or we can import, or I'm sorry, migrate, I should say, from contacts. Now, migrate from contacts would be if you had all the information in the contact table previously, and then you're bringing that over into the custom table section. You may have had multiple rows of, in this case, insurance. Maybe you had 8 different rows of insurance items, and you needed to migrate that into the custom table section. Okay, but in this case, we have everything from a spreadsheet, so we're going to import from spreadsheet. So you're going to bring up a wizard here, and then I'm going to tell it where to look for that file. Okay, there's my file. Next, I'm going to select, okay, what table do I want to import this into? So I find my custom table, insurance new is what this one's called. Hit next. And this is what I was talking about, that linkage to that context. Now I need to specify the field to link it from that Excel file, that custom table, to that contact. So I'm going to use company and contact. So this is the field from the Excel on the left here, the import field. On the right is going to be the act field. And the names themselves might not be the same. The name on your Excel file might be called account or account name or company name. Personally, myself, I try to keep things consistent, keep things named the same so it's less confusing, but it doesn't have to be the same name. Okay, so I'm linking there. Click next. And now I'm going to map the data to the custom table field. Now these first 4 fields are all content fields, so I don't need to map them anywhere in the custom table sheet. These other fields, just if you ever done an act import, you'd notice that if the field name matches the field name in act, it automatically maps it for you. These couple that aren't mapped, they don't have a exact match, so I'm just going to have to find it. So current status goes to status. So once again, on the left is the import field from Excel. On the right is the table field in act. And then payment frequency. The duplicate check column, that's useful if you were to do a import after the fact. So you already did one import, and then you took that same data that you had in Excel and you modified some things, and you need to import it again to modify maybe the coverage or the premium or something. Then you would duplicate check, maybe in this case on the policy number, and then whenever it matched that policy number, it would overwrite the new data, whatever that may be, the new renewal date, the new coverage, the new premium, etc. In this case, it's just it's the first time we're importing, so we're not going to duplicate check anything. As far as the mapping goes, you can save your mapping, clicking the Save Map. Just call this Insurance Map. Okay. So in case the import doesn't go right or something, or you need to do it again at a later time, you're doing it on a regular basis, you can then just load the map without having to map each particular field one by one. Then we're going to go next. And this is just telling you if you were doing the duplicate check, what action do you want to do? Do you want to override it, override only if the field is blank, or just do nothing? And then next, and this is just letting you know, hey, everything is good. Let's go ahead and do the import. We hit next, and the import's going to start. And you'll see it just sort of flowing through there. One thing to caution people on here is if you have a large import, and what I mean by large, 10,000 records, 15,000, etc. This may look like it's being frozen a little bit because it's trying to catch up because it's going so fast. So just be aware of that it's really not frozen. It's still working in the background, and it will finish, and you will get to this part here where it says import complete. But just be patient with it if you do have a really large type of import. This one right here was 90 records, so it only took 10 seconds maybe. So once again, let's say import complete. Press next to continue. Import finished. And then to get them viewable here, I just hit the refresh button. So if you ever think that records aren't there, always use this refresh button. That's your friend here up in the upper left-hand corner of your custom table view. And then now there's those records that we just imported. And I'm going to sort by contact. And if I were to go to Amanda's record, I'm going to see 3 on her record. And the easiest way to go right to her name, I right-click on the list item here, go to contacts. And that takes you right to Amanda's record. And then there's those 3 insurance items. I'm going to go back to the global list here of insurance new to show you some other things you can do here. So what you can also do here is group by the contact. Okay, so if you want to group by all the contacts to see how many maybe insurance items each person has, make it easy for you to do that, you can do so. So there's a group slider up here. We slide it to turn it on. And when we do that, you're going to see a little box open up right here. It says drag a column header here to group by that column. So I'm going to group by the contact field. I drag that up there. And now it has all my contacts listed like that. And if I hit the little arrow, it'll expand it. Maybe I want a count of each of these, and also maybe a average of their coverages. So I'm going to do that. I need to turn on the summary option right here in the middle. So I turn on the summary. You see it puts like a total bar beneath everybody. So I'm going to count each of these. Gives me a count, and then under coverage column, I'm going to do a total. I'm sorry, an average. I want to do an average. And then maybe down here I'll do very bottom, I'll do a total average. Yeah.
What happens if it doesn't find a match on the import? Where do those records go?
Okay, they go into the database, but they'll just be in this master list here without a contact or a company to be linked to. And then you can, oh, I'm sorry, no, they link it to the My Record. They all link to the My Record if it doesn't find something. So then you can go in there and either
and then they can move,
create a new contact and assign it or whatever.
Great, thank you.
Yep. And to reassign something, it's very easy. You can highlight multiple ones. Let me get out of the group view. It's easier to see here. Let me just turn this off. So I can, if I want to reassign all these to a different contact, I highlight them, right-click, reassign, contacts. Do you really want to reassign these records? Yes. I can type in a person's name up here, or I could just choose from my list. Let's just choose that one. Then it reassigns to that particular record. Okay. And once I refresh it, I would see that. I don't have them highlighted anymore. That's why they're not. You don't see them, but it reassign. Oh, here they are, right here. There's those records that we just reassigned to Sandy or Savvy. Sorry.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep. So while we're on that right click, let me show you a couple other things you can do with that right click option. There's a couple different options we can do here. So one of the things is go to. We can go to any of those entities. Now it has to be linked to one of them to be able to go to it. Okay. remember earlier today, we talked about what table this was linked to. It was linked to contacts and companies, not groups or opportunities. So you're not going to be able to go to groups or companies in this particular instance here. The edit menu allows you to do a couple different things. One is duplicate. So if you wanted to duplicate that exact item, let's say they purchased another insurance item and it was exactly the same, except the renewal date might be different and maybe the carrier is different. So you duplicate it, creates the exact same one, and then you change just a couple of the fields that are different. Replace field values. That allows you to replace a field value with something else. So let's say all these policy expiries that were, let's list or sort by that. See if we find a common date here. We don't, but let's just pick these all the ones that were March. Okay, let's say all these we're going to transfer to March of 2021. So March 1st. So I highlight them all. Right click, edit, replace field value, policy expiry for the field name, and then whatever my new value will be. 3/1/2021. Hit apply. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes. Does that, and then for me to see it, once again, I'll hit refresh. And then there's those records that have been replaced. Okay, so it's very powerful, but one thing you need to be careful with that, because you can obviously, if you highlighted everything in your whole database, you can change a lot of things that maybe you don't want to change. So do be careful when you do replace, but it is a great tool if you do need to update things or change data around within that database itself. Other things off the edit, copy a field value. So if you needed to copy from one field to another, reasons to do that, maybe you had a field and for whatever reason it's just not working for you, or want to rename it. So you create a new field and then you're copying it from one field to that new field name. Swap field values. Let's say you did an import, but let's say, for example, this import we did, but coverage and cash value were reversed. I imported the cash value into coverage and vice versa. Instead of deleting and redoing the import, I could just do a swap field value and say, okay, we want coverage to go where cash value is, and obviously vice versa. Oh, I only did it in one record. I would want to highlight everything and do that. So let's just do that. Okay. And you can see it's very quick. Okay, for 90 records, it did it in a matter of 2 seconds or so. So it's really quick to change items on here. Finally, append value. Now, what that's going to be useful for is if you had like a field maybe where you track notes of something, and you wanted to append the same note on 10 different records. At the end of the note, they would add whatever you added to there to the end of all 10 of those notes. In the insurance here, there's not many fields here they really use append for. Like the currency fields, you're not going to be able to use append on. Date fields, you can't really use it on. Maybe a drop down though, you can add it. Maybe they added everybody who was MMO, they added another carrier to their system, so you would add it after that. Copy to linked records. This allows you to copy the data from the custom table to a contact record. So if you do want to, some people do like to track it in both places, you can do so here. But it's probably one of the rarely used things here, but it is a feature here if you wanted to do that. We already talked about reassigning linked records, and then merge to. I'm going to think, Vic, we have a little bit more time, right?
Yes, yeah, we have a few minutes yet.
Okay, so let me quickly show you here before we end. I want to show you how to do the layout editor, or not layout editor, template editor, because I think that's very important here. It is separate from the template editor. So to create a template to merge to, whether it be an email or to merge to Word, under the custom tables menu, there's an option to manage templates. Now this can be done on our RDB, on a remote database. It doesn't have to be done on the hosted database. Okay. So we're going to manage templates, and what it's doing here, it's opening its own template editor. Okay. Okay, so here's the custom table template editor. And let's just write a letter here, or write a template. Hi, and then I'm going to put over here where it says record type, this is the entity I want to choose from. So I want to maybe put their first name in here. So I go to the table for record type. I choose the field down here, click insert. Okay, so hi, first name. I'm going to use that repair table. Okay, let's see, vehicle date, service.
Hello, Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yep, no problem. Okay, so we inputted those fields. We selected it from the where it says insert merge field over here. Okay, and I'm going to put them in here, and I'm going to save this template. Okay, so we go up top to the menu, File, Save. Automatically takes you to my template folder for my database that I'm working in, which is nice. And the file extension is going to be A4 TPL. So basically Act4 templates. That's what it's short for. So let's just call this one repair. Okay. Save. And I'm going to close out of here. And let's go to my repairs. So I highlight the one I want to email. In this case, actually, I'm just going to, I won't send the email, I'll send the Word here. I'll merge it to Word so we can see it. So I'm going to merge to, select Word, select my template, select where I want to save the Word file to, give it a name. Gonna merge the data. And there you are. There it is in Word here. Okay. I can also do that via email. If I want to say I want to merge all these records here to email, same thing, right click. It's gonna look a little different with the email. Let me show you that. Go back to Act. Okay. Merge to email. Choose your template. So this is the part where it's gonna be a little different, okay? So repair service dates. You put in your subject. You can CC or BCC addresses. You can also, let's say you were sending out maybe 100 of these, you can CC or BCC only the initial email so that person's not getting 100 CCs if you wanted to. And then I would hit next, and it would start merging those emails to everybody in my list there that I had. It would just send them one by one. They'd all be personalized. Okay, so they're not going to get a group email necessarily. They won't see everybody else on the email. It's going to be a personal email to each of those specific people that are going to get that email with their data merged into that email, into the body of the email. Okay, and that's pretty much what we had set forth to cover today. So like to open the floor to any questions and anything we've either covered today, or question of can it do this or can't do that, and get those covered today.
While we're waiting for some questions to come in, let's just recap. If you have any questions, feel free to email Michael. Also, if you have questions in terms of how to implement, what it would take, or if you have specific questions how this would integrate with your database, you can email myself, vic@kqc.ca, and I can get you in touch with a salesperson. Have a few questions for you and figure who can best service your needs. Or you can email Michael and he can forward that information to me. So again, my email is vic@kqc.ca. And you've got Michael's information on the screen in front of you there.
And a lot of times what we do,
Okay,
a lot of this is visual. So what we can do also for a lot of people, if they want, is to do like a rough draft of what they have. So you would show us your database, and then we would say, okay, let us create a custom table of what we think it would look like for you. This way you get a visual of how it's going to look actually in your database, instead of us just saying, oh yeah, that would be a good example for custom tables. So once you get a visual, it really makes more sense.
Excellent. I do have one question here, Lubs. When importing, what if you have 3 contacts with the same name, Jane Smith, for example?
Sure. So what it's going to do is it's going to put it on the first one it finds. It's not going to apply it to all 3 of Jane Smith. It's just going to link it to that first Jane Smith that it finds in the database. So that's why the more unique you can get, the better off you're going to get with those matching. So like an email address, a unique ID of some sort. You know, once again, the more unique you get, the better off your chances are to getting it to the right person.
All right. Since there's no further questions, thank you very much, Michael. That was a very good webinar. And remember, you can go to our website within 24 hours. We will have the recording online for you. And feel free to email us or give us a call. Oh, quick question. Does each user need a license?
Yes.
Last question.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, one more question. Now they're coming in, Michael.
Yeah, I'm here.
Does the tables design work on the Act Cloud hosted databases?
Yes, it does. So, and actually, if you do have the cloud, you have to design the tables through the cloud interface, not your remote database, if you are cloud-based. It is a little bit different. The designer is a little bit different in the cloud, but you still have most of the features that you have that we showed here today.
Okay, and we'll take the last question here now. Can you match on more than one field for adding records?
I'm guessing that's for the import, I'm guessing.
I assume so. James, can you give quick detail on that?
We'll get back to James.
No
offline.
further details?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah, we will deal with that one offline. All right, thank you very much, Michael. Wonderful webinar, and stay tuned on our website for the recording as well as signing up for future webinars. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.